he gives his list of top workers. I think he may have actually gone to 50. I think I cut it off at 20. But I'm just going to read you his order because he did put these guys in order. And remember, this is not just
Terry
US.
Funk has got to be number one.
No, Terry Funk is not number one. Terry Funk is not even on this list. And I wonder if it was because he was like in the middle of like retirements or something.
Okay, I haven't read the list, but before you get to the list, I'm not going to try to guess number one, but I will say that there's, because I part of me wants to say somebody from Japan, but Dynamite Kid is not from Japan. And also, at this point, yeah, I know he's still in Japan at this point. No, he's about to come over and be with Vince. Okay. So yeah, so you give me the list. I was gonna try to guess, but there's too many variables.
I'll read the list and I'll give you his reasoning, and then you can chime in and crack wise on it. So here's how Dave judged the wrestlers. He says, hard, fast action, good technical skills, and the aura of realism. There are many fine performers.
What does that mean? Dave, when you throw somebody to the ropes, they shouldn't be coming back. That's one of the things about when people. I don't know. I was gonna get me on a rant. I'm not gonna. I just hate when people criticize when you have that division of people criticizing wrestling.
Yeah,
that are wrestling fans say it looks too fake. What is wrestling is fake. You can't throw somebody to the ropes and they're gonna come back. It just. But anyways.
There are many fine performers in this business who may be good in other important facets, such as heating up the crowd, but that is something I don't take into nearly as much consideration personally. So this is 1984 Dave. You got to remember he's in his
20s. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, here's his list. Number 1, Ric Flair.
Okay. And he was seeing a lot of Rick. He was seeing a lot of Rick during this time.
And so this is 1984 Rick. And even in 1984, Dave writes, he may have slowed a bit, but he is so consistently excellent, and his aura is such that when he does make a mistake, it is easily overlooked.
This is 36-year-old Ric Flair, by the way.
Yeah.
35, 36.
But, here's the other thing. How do you know if Rick is making a mistake or not?
Well, when he tries to do that wacky flip over here,
but he's probably hitting it every single time.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's hard. And also, he's very he has the same match pretty much every night, which is one of Bret Hart's criticisms.
Right.
So it's hard for him to have a bad match, because we won't know because we don't know if it's. So yeah, I don't know.
Number 2 surprised me. I would have never guessed. Number 2.
Go ahead.
Is Davey Boy Smith.
Wow, that is a surprise.
Without a doubt, athletically, the best superstar in the business. I would be surprised if he isn't number 1 within 2 years.
What a mark, Davis. He's calling him a super. Look, he appreciates his work rate, and he's calling him a superstar for that reason. He's not a superstar.
Okay. I agree with you because Dave likes being ahead of the curve. That is, he's like a scout in a sense, right? The scout wants to be ahead of the curve, not behind the curve.
Yeah.
But the thing about this one is like only Dave and people who influence Dave are really high on Davey Boy Smith is my guess. I've always been of the opinion that Dave was negative on Davey Boy Smith for his entire career.
Well, later on, when he was
high,
lazy and bloated. Yeah. So I guess we could say that in hindsight, staying with the British Bulldogs and WWF maybe derailed his superstar potential a little bit because he was a tag team guy for a while. And then he would come back in 91, and that's when he started getting lazy. So yeah, who knows what would have happened with Davey Boy had he not teamed with Dynamite and gone to WWF full time.
Well, the other thing about it is, if you read that old Dynamite book,
I have it. It's one of my favorite books, and you can't get it anymore.
It seems like Davey was a little wet behind the ears on the business.
He was very naive in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All
right, number 3. This one's not a surprise. Bruiser Brody
Oh,
says
that's his buddy.
Yeah, limited in many ways. Nobody gives an aura of violent realism more. And in Japan, he rarely has anything but a great match.
I've always felt he was a little overrated. I've heard the legend of Bruiser Brody since I was a kid, and he's never had what I would call and even trying to put myself in that time frame, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. He's okay. I mean, I just don't like the fact that he doesn't sell a lot, and he was very agile. Like when he decided to take bumps, he's a good bump taker, but that wasn't very often. So I don't know. I guess he was a product of his time. You had to really be there to just be captivated by his presence, because his presence was a huge part of Bruiser Brody's presentation.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about when you just said you try to put yourself in the place and time? I was trying to do that last night. You know what movie I watched? Death Wish with Charlie Bronson.
That's a horrible movie, man. Sad and it always bothered me that Jeff Goldblum never got his comeuppance. He never.
Why did he do that role? Why was Goldblum in that movie?
Oh, that was early. I'm sure he didn't have a lot of leverage in Hollywood at that time. That might have been his first role. That was very early in his career. I thought you were gonna ask why Charlie Bronson did that movie.
Well, Charlie Bronson did it because it made him like a box office draw, the biggest one at that time, probably for like a year. But
yeah,
the thing, so as I'm watching this movie, the gunplay is, one shot and he hits every single time. The blood is super fake. But the thing that tonally that you can just see in this movie. So if anyone doesn't know Death Wish, it's the story of a guy whose wife gets killed and his daughter gets raped by just the New York City's, desperate and crazy doldrums and just crime everywhere. So he's he's like what is he, like an architect or something? Like
he's an architect. He's an architect.
And so basically he takes justice in his own hands because the cops basically tell him, like, maybe we find these guys, maybe not. Like, join the club. This is happening all over the city. And so he takes justice into his own hands. And so much so that he sort of believes that he is kind of a crime fighter. And he's like picking on people who are just there to like try and take $5 from him. And he's got a gun and he pulls a gun on. So he kind of goes crazy.
It's a very right-wing film, by the way. It's very, and I think there was this subtle, I don't know how much he pulled it off, but you're supposed to also believe that he's losing his mind. And it's supposed to give you this whole like morality tale of like the monster becomes the monster. That's why you're not supposed to take revenge, because so in that sense, I guess it works, but it was also like a trashy B movie, because this is right after Charlie Bronson's, like, he's done as an actor, he's washed up. So this kind of gave him a second life in that B movie grindhouse era, which is a conversation for another time. But that was a whole different genre, By the time we get to part 3, which was bought by Canon Films, I mean, this guy, it gets so cartoony and wacky where he's taking on entire gangs by himself. But the first two, part 1 and part 2, are very dark. And I don't know. I don't enjoy watching them, but they're a part of history. I mean, I've seen them a couple times. But yeah, Charlie Bronson was done by this point, and I understand why he did it. But it does have some social commentary on it. So
supposedly the author of the book, in which the movie was based, was very frustrated with the movie because basically what you said is the aspect of the book was about the social commentary about this guy losing his mind. And in the movie, they made it seem like the guy was like a cool guy. And so Charles Bronson had a commentary on that guy's commentary, and he basically said, no, I think we did a really great job of showing how, demented that the character got. But whatever. I watched that movie and I was like, I get it, but they're still trying to make him a cool guy at the end. All these harmless people. So, and poor wife dies, and the daughter is just out of, like, she's just all drugged up and a mummy. And this dude is like, just doesn't care. He's like, I'm gonna go
Yeah, there's
and
some.
do
If
my
you really
own thing.
analyze it, he's very selfish.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
instead of being there for his daughter, he goes out and try. And he never catches the people that did it. Like at least
yeah.
go
I
look for the
know.
people that did. He goes to he's projecting a lot of that to other criminals. And yeah, and if, don't watch part two because essentially it happens again and
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
daughter. And so, but part 3 through 5 are just fun. They're schlocky. They're wacky. But yeah, that was old Charlie Bronson. Never thought I was gonna be talking about him tonight.
Charlie Bronson, baby. Um, there's a funny, like, I guess, rumor or internet research part about the casting, and I think someone said that they thought Elvis may have been asked to do the role. How is that? That's Elvis isn't not alive much longer
No,
after that.
this is in 76. Elvis died in 74,
I
75.
think 70. I think the movie's 74 actually.
Oh, 74. Okay. So
Yeah.
he died in 72, I think.
Oh, okay.
But these things are in production way before
Yeah.
we see
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
possible that he got offered the role. But yeah. Charlie Bronson was very charismatic. That also doesn't help.
My grandmother thought he was very handsome. I remember that for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
when he was younger, man. Yeah, he definitely was.
Okay. So back to the list. Number 4. He wasn't. I don't think he was known as the cowboy here yet. But Bob Orton Jr., who Dave calls an extremely gifted performer, but often must be held back for fear of overshadowing his opponents.
I could see that. I think he's very underrated. I've seen a lot of Bob Orton Jr. stuff, and he's awesome. And I could see. So I'm under the assumption now that Dave is trying to like you said, he's trying to think about the future. He's trying because these are all like future stars that he's putting
Who does Vince have his eye on to be, the guy who's facing Hogan in the next big Madison Square Garden match? I think that's how he might be looking at it.
Yeah, and Bob Orton did get to wrestle him in Saturday Night's Main Event. So
did I ever tell you? I may have told you this years ago, but I'll tell this audience. I want to say the year was like 87 or something. There was a Memorial Day Superstars of Wrestling, and Hulk Hogan had a random title defense on Superstars, and it was against Cowboy Bob Orton. And I was like, this is weird. Like, he never wrestles on this show. Like, there was like him and Orndorff against the Moondogs, but it's like, that was set up for an angle. And I was like, Hogan title defense. This is weird. I wonder why they're doing this. So my dad realizes that I'm kind of thinking like something's kind of interesting here. And he goes, oh yeah, I heard Bob Orton won the match. And I was like, what? I was like, there's no way, right? But
yeah,
at the same time, as I'm saying there's no way, in the back of my mind is like, what if this really happened? Like, how am I going to feel about this? Am I going to be mad? Am I going to be what? So anyways, I think the top rope also breaks in this match. And my dad used that to say, see, I told you something's funky here. And so I was like, oh no, but then Hogan drops the leg and wins. And I was like, I looked at him and he's just started laughing at me. So
Hogan must pose. That was Vince's philosophy. Hogan must pose.
So that's even a bigger memory for me than the Saturday Night Main Event match that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is a guy that you actually you thought could be number 1 or 2, was the Dynamite Kid.
Of course.
He's number 5 on Dave's list. Dave writes, he's lost some stamina with his added muscle. Thus, his work rate has dropped. But in many ways, he's still about the best pound for pound.
So it was Dave that one that created that work rate. I always wonder where it came from.
I don't know. I guess 1984. He's talking about work rate.
Because notice he doesn't use it anymore. Like he doesn't talk. There's a lot of little terms like that he never whips out anymore.
So the next one is a surprise, but Dave has actually talked about this guy as being like a great for a few years, and that's Butch Reed, 1984 Butch Reed. Oh, actually, sorry, Terry Gordy, and then Butch Reed. What he says about Butch Reed, though, is phenomenal strength and great athletic skills. Now that he's gotten to where he controls heat well, there's no stopping him. There's no stopping Butch Reed.
It's I trip out on the it's early. He's trying to come up with terminology to explain the uniqueness of professional wrestling, right? So like controls heat well. How would he say that today? Just getting heat, right? So they're just getting heat.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
get heat. He got heat in the match. Whereas back then it was controls heat well, you know? It's weird how these terms have like changed over the years.
So then he says, so after Gordy, then Butch, Chavo Guerrero. He says almost everything he does is flawless.
Chavo Classic. Yeah, he's too small though. He invented the
Yeah.
moonsault, by the way.
Yeah. What did he call it?
I don't know, side salto. I don't know.
They called it like the reverse body block off the top rope or something like that.
Right. Yeah, because he
Uh,
wasn't doing the Great Muda moonsault. He was doing that other one where the guy's standing waiting to catch him. You know.
yeah. Yeah. So next is Paul Orndorff, who he says is a superior athlete and wrestler who often doesn't get to show his best because of his mostly weak WWF babyface opposition, but for some reason is a very boring wrestler when he's in Japan.
Okay. I mean, I thought he was always a great worker.
And his he will gain much fame over the next 3 and 4 years, being
Yes.
Hogan's top or second.
Yeah, we're about a year away from that actually.
Adrian Adonis.
I love that guy, man. So underrated, man. So freaking underrated, that guy.
Okay,
I just saw him at WrestleMania 3. I was watching it again. So he's just bumping like a madman for a big guy.
you'll love what Dave says about Adrian. He says,
Well, he's gonna make fun because he was a big bone individual, like he always does with everybody that's big bone.
would be number one if he
Yes.
was in any kind of condition to wrestle
Of
in
course.
singles. But
Of
his
course.
300-pound current frame limits him.
Could you
Amazing.
imagine young Dave's like vanity? Like I could see it. Like I mean, he needed the Narcissus mirror, you know, he needed it in San Jose over by the beach.
Yes. All right. So then we'll go through the rest of these quickly. Sergeant Slaughter was next, and he basically said he's great at bumps for his size.
Yeah, agreed.
But he's not sold on his new role as far as it taking advantage of his best skills, which I believe is babyface in WWF.
This was a couple months before Vinny would give him that contract for the toys, right? And then Slaughter would be like, "Nah, I need my own royalties from this," and then he would be gone.
Tatsumi Fujinami is next, just says he's consistently excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Hansen, excellent work rate on the other side of the Pacific to go along with that great violent aura.
Agreed.
Ricky Choshu, technically excellent, perhaps the best tag wrestler around. And this one surprised me because of how far we got down this list before this name came up. Ricky Steamboat. Tremendous athlete. In some ways, his lack of weight hurts his credibility in the States, but he's well known for his work rate.
So he's subconsciously telling him to get on the juice, like
and
Vince
he would.
told Rick Rude. Yeah, like Vince told Rick Rude all those years ago when Rick Rude wanted to have kids.
Masa Saito is another tremendous technician. Kevin Von Erich doesn't know how to sell well, but his role never forces him to sell. A magnificently graceful athlete in the ring.
Okay. Well, it is okay, I guess. Blew a lot of spots, hurt a lot of people.
Buzz Sawyer, a true maniac once the bell rings. And finally, we get to the number one star in the business, Hulk Hogan. Many don't like him because he's limited in some ways, but he's an exceptional ham, in parentheses, or in quotes, ham, and does wrestle very hard, at least outside the WWF.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna do the old Jesse Ventura here. Wait a minute, Gorilla. I have a complaint. So with Okada, all of a sudden Dave gives him this weird mental gymnastic pass where he has to get 25 minutes to have a 5-star match, or else he's just gonna suck, and we just have to accept it. But with Hogan, he couldn't give him the benefit of the doubt that he's wrestling in the WWF ring, but when he's in Japan, he's actually a hell of a great worker. Like, how I want 25-year-old Dave to visit 60 whatever year old Dave and make their story make sense, because it's two different wrestlers and one's getting a pass and the other one isn't, and I don't think that's fair. By the way, as a side note, because I for whatever reason I started listening to Brian and Vinny again just because I got nostalgic. First of all, I forgot how very KLB-ish that show was. I really did. They really kind of just let loose.
Yeah.
But I feel, okay, so Brian has come to terms with what we all have come to terms with, that Okada now is not the wrestler he used to be, and we just accepted it and we're okay with that. Dave's the only one that hasn't accepted it. I mean, he's in denial about it to the point where well, they were reviewing a match the other day, and Brian's like, it pretty much sucked. And Dave is like, it's okay, it was okay. But he was ready to move on. Like, he didn't want to talk about Okada sucking.
Yeah.
So Okada's not what he used to be, and we all just gotta face it. And he probably never will be. He's beat up. He's mid-30s now, almost 40, I think.
Okay.
Not almost 40, but he's getting there.
Okay, you just said that. Do you think he wants this Omega match? Because think of what these dudes have to live up to.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. I think I'm gonna be there live for that, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't because I'll be at a wedding. My wife's best friend is getting married, so I'm out on that one. But that, just think about Omega too. Like, these guys,
Omega's also beat up.
But Omega did have the match with Gabe Kidd earlier this year, which was fantastic. My favorite match of the year so far.
Omega just knows how to work. He's such a great worker. He knows his limitations. He reminds me a lot of Bret Hart. It's like, in that they'll give you a great match, and it's not always going to look the same. You know what it is? Omega knows how to adapt to his opponents. He does that very well, no matter who he wrestles. Whereas Okada has his style, and that's it. And because he really can. I'm thinking it's because physically, or maybe he just doesn't want to. Maybe he's making a lot of money. He's like, you know what, the Japan days are over. He just doesn't adapt. So we're gonna get the same Okada match at a lower speed. That's the difference. But now the question becomes, when they do match up, do we have a modern Okada match with Omega, or does Omega kind of like make Okada work a little more? We'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're gonna need at least 35 minutes, by the way.
I think so.
I think that show's gonna go like at least 8 hours. It might be like one of those old All Japan women shows that will go 12 hours, because Tony Khan is gonna want to give all these guys like 30 minutes to tell their story, because this is the big blow-off show of the year.
Yeah.
So anyways.
All right, last three here. Ted DiBiase, formerly a top 5 wrestler who appears to have almost been ruined by his long stint in the Mid-South against the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, well, he hates the junk food dog, so.
And then the last two, Dick Slater looks better than ever in the Carolinas, and then Roddy Piper, at least based on November, December in Mid-Atlantic. In WWF, this rating appears to be too high.